What I have here in front of me is something every musician must have if you have a desire to play without reading any music and play by ear. It is a must-have. This is a course in melody harmonization. With these reference volumes, in one day you can start to play by ear and turn a one-finger melody into a smooth chord progression. I want to look at this volume in particular, substitution and passing chords. This is a must-have and part of the melody harmonization system. What you do with this reference volume is this gives you passing chords, chords to play in between your chords to give you those really beautiful changes. I mean, I know you've heard like jazz players, they make all these beautiful chord changes and you're like, where did they come from? It's very easy to do using melody harmonization. You can do it in a couple of minutes and you can get beautiful changes between any two chords by using this reference volume. And I'm going to give you a demonstration on how simple it is and how it works. Say for example, you're playing a song and you're going from an A flat chord to a D flat chord and you don't know what to do in between. You know, you don't want to just sit there and hold it and go from A flat to D flat. And you want to know, what can I do to really flavor that up? The first thing you need to know is what key signature you're in and identify where you're moving. In this particular case, I'm in the key of D flat and I'm moving from the A flat to D flat. That's a 5 to the 1. The A flat is the 5th note in the D flat scale and the D flat is the 1st note in the D flat scale. And if you don't know that, that's all explained in the first volume, the Handbook of Harmony, and that'll get you up to speed on that. So after you figure out where you are and where you're going, you can use the book on substitution and passing chords to put really pretty lush changes in between. So like I said, we're going from this A flat 9 sus to a D flat major 9. Now, in any scale, you have 12 notes. There are 12 possibilities of chords that you can put in between. And with the harmony system and melody harmonization, every possibility is a good possibility. So I can go from A flat to G to D flat, from A flat to F to D flat. I can put any chord in between. You can just pick arbitrarily, and the volume on passing chords will give you the correct chord because the chords for melody harmonization are engineered to work. So even though I'm in the key of D flat, I can put a note in between that's a chord in between that's not even in the D flat scale. I can put an E chord in between. I can put a D chord in between. I can put a G chord in between. It doesn't matter. That's why it's so easy to do. And you can even chain them together and put 4 or 5 chords in between, and it's going to sound pretty. And I'm going to show you just how to do that and how simple it is. So here I am on an A flat chord, and I want to get down to D flat. And if you're wondering where I got these chords from, they're in the book. So here I am on A flat, and I want to put a real pretty change in between. I can pick any one of these notes, and that'll be the chord that I'm going to play to make the change. So I'm on A flat, and just pick a note. You want to go to F, and then go down to D flat. F is the 3rd note in the D flat scale. 1, 2, 3. So you open the book and you go to the chapter on the 3, and it will have all the chords that you can play to make that transition. And if you don't know that that's the 3, then you can look at the first book, the Handbook of Harmony, and it goes over that, or you can just open the book up and look at the pictures and see, well, which one of these chords in the book has an F on the bottom. So you're gonna put some sort of F chord in between, and we've just gone to the chapter harmonizing on the 3, and in this chapter are all sorts of F chords that you can put in between. And I'm just gonna pick this one right here, the F7 sharp 9 sharp 5, and I'm gonna play that as a passing chord in between the A flat down to the F down to the D flat. Sounds pretty. Now, if you don't want to put an F in there, you can pick any one of the tones, and there's a chord in the book that you can play that can go in between. So say, for example, you want to put a B in between. There's no B in the key of D flat. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, actually, it's a 7. So we go to the book, open to the chapter on the 7, and we see what chords we can play harmonizing on the 7. And we can just pick any one of the chords in this chapter. There's lots of choices here, and they all work because the chords have actually been engineered to work like Lego building blocks. So you can put them together in just about any order. How about this one right here? A B13 flat 5. It has a B on the bottom and an A flat on the top. Let's make that change. Put this B13 flat 5 in the middle, going from the A flat down to the D flat. So let's go from A flat to B, really pretty chord, isn't it? Down to the D flat. So it really doesn't matter which one you pick. It's easy to put chords together, and you don't have to really know anything about music theory. That's all handled behind the scenes. You just string the chords together. You can even put together the B and what's the other one we chose? The B and the F together, and you can put them together in any order, and it will sound really nice. So you can go from the A flat to the B to the F, and then resolve down to the D flat, and you can even do it in the other order. It really doesn't matter. It's all going to work and sound good. The cool thing that's in the book is in the back. We have all the scales in the back and their numbers, so you can see what note is what number in what scale. So for example, in the C scale, we see that G is a 5, D is a 9 or a 2. So even if you don't know your numbers, the reference right here has everything you need to get the job done. This volume here is the one on passing chords. So like I said, if you need a chord, you can look it up in this book by the name of the chord. So if you want a G chord to go somewhere in between two chords, you go to the chapter, depending on what key you're in, and you find the G chord and you put it in between. Like I said, this is not a chord dictionary. These chords have been engineered to fit together. So this is not like just some book of chords. These are special chords, and they all fit together like Lego building blocks, and you can actually take these chords and string them together in any order, and they're going to sound good. Substitution and passing chords. That's this book, and it's one of the books in the Adventures in Harmony series by Creative Music. You gotta get this book. There's some pretty hot chords in here. There's a chord for every single possibility. Every note here on the keyboard, there's a chord you can put in between. I'm not going to look this one up, but just say you want to put an E chord in between. Look it up in the book. I happen to know what it is, and just put that E chord in between your A flat and your D flat, so you can go from A flat. And you're probably thinking E. There's no E in the key of D flat. 1, 2, 3. There's no E, but I'm going to play an E chord out of that passing chord book, and it's going to work. Listen to this one. So we're going to go from A flat to E, down to the 1, D flat. Didn't that sound beautiful? A flat, E, down to D flat. Like I said, any note on the keyboard is a possibility. That makes it really easy for someone to play, because they can just sit down and just randomly pick a note and play the chord that goes with that note, and it's going to sound good. Here I can go from A flat and go to C, down to D flat. That's a C minor 7 sharp 5. And like I said, that one's in the book. They're all in the book, and you would find that in the chapter on the major 7. C is the major 7 in the key of D flat, and if you don't know that, that's in the back of the book. So it's real easy to use and put chords together. So I can go from A flat to C to F to E to D flat, and I can just keep stringing these together and make really beautiful chord changes. And that's how these cats do it. They know what chord they can play for a particular note. And once you build up that library, that internal library in your brain, you don't need the book, and you can sit at the keyboard and just, as the mood hits you, you just think of a note and play the chord that goes with that note and make the change. I mean, there's nothing to memorize. You're not memorizing a chord sequence. Every time you do this, it's going to be different. It's just you're sitting at the keyboard, and however the mood swings you at that particular moment, you just pick a note and play the chord that goes with that note. It's that simple, and that way you don't sound boring and repetitive by playing the same song the same way every time. You sit down at the keyboard, and it's going to sound different every time, and you'll even surprise yourself at the changes you make. This is just another one of the books in the series that you've got to get. It's easy to do. It gets you playing immediately. You don't have to read any music. It's all based on pictures. And after a week or so, you'll know the chords that go with the notes. And you can throw the book out and sit down and start playing and having fun. Music should be fun, not a monotonous, boring thing. You got to make it fun. And with this system, it's nothing but fun. And you'll surprise yourself with the chord changes that you make. So, like I said, you got to pick it up. You got to